We're sending things over to the Weather Center with our Chief Meteorologist, Dan Cianca, who's going to be talking to us about some rain coming in that we need to be prepared for here on the Central Coast.
Yeah, certainly over the next couple of days, we have some hazards with the rain, and that does include flooding. But we have one system coming through overnight, which is going to bring a little bit of light rain and maybe even some snow. Speaking of snow, too, by the way, let's take a look at our state snowpack numbers. We've put together this graphic for you today to talk about how much is currently in place across the state. And you can see that the statewide average is 192% of normal. That's good. That means there's a lot of snow up there in the Sierra Nevada. And you can see each individual basin looking good as well. The southern Sierra, 230% of normal. And even in the north, you're at 1.5 times how much you typically should see by this time of year. And compared to that April 1st average, we're at 180%. So that's some good news, too. The April 1st average is important because that's the date typically in the year where the melting of the snow begins to outpace the accumulation, and you start to see the snowpack go down. So basically when it's typically the deepest. So we are well above that number right now and hope to stay that way as we head into the next several weeks. So what is going to be happening? What kind of changes will we see in the next couple of days? Because as we mentioned, we've got a storm on the way. Well, the answer is some areas are going to see more snow by the end of the weekend, and some areas may be seeing quite a bit less. We'll see a reduction in the snowpack. And the reason is the storm systems coming in this weekend are going to be warm, which means the snow levels will be higher, maybe 5,000 feet in elevation, maybe 6,000 feet in elevation. There's a lot of snow in that middle elevation area right now, and a lot of that rain on that snow may cause melting of that snow, which could lead to some flooding concerns. So there's a lot to watch out for across the state as we head into this weekend. And of course, we talked about the local risk, and we're going to get into that for you right now. A live look from Domenico's on the Wharf. Things looking pretty quiet out there tonight across the Central Coast. It is chilly. Skies still pretty clear. It looked like the clouds would increase a little bit earlier. I've lowered my low temperatures overnight, mostly because the temperatures right now were already lower than what I was forecasting, so I figured I should probably move them down. But either way, we're in the 30s for cities around the Bay right now, so it is not warm out. But I do expect the clouds to arrive eventually. They are associated with a kind of a final weather system associated with this upper level low, which has been sitting to our north and throwing at us unstable air and rounds of showers basically all week long since the weekend. Final cold front starting to work its way down the coast will bring a period of moderate rain to the region tomorrow morning. It's going to move through pretty quickly. If you catch it while you're driving, it'll cause slippery roadways and reduced visibility on the way to work tomorrow morning. So let's get a look at how that plays out in future casts. We'll see the increase in clouds overnight, and here comes that cold front screaming through 4 to 5 a.m., rolling through Santa Cruz around 6 a.m. or so, give or take an hour or two, and then moving through the rest of the Monterey Bay as we head through 7, 8, and 9 a.m., and eventually it points southward beyond that as it falls apart. So this is a fast-moving system. No major issues with it. Certainly could see some ponding on the roadways. The brief heavy rain is possible with this, which could cause reduced visibility and make things slippery out there. But keep in mind also that the snow levels will be a little bit lower overnight tonight, perhaps down to 3,000, maybe even down to 2,000 feet, which could impact some roadways in the higher elevations of the Santa Cruz Mountains. So take heed of that when you're on the way out the door tomorrow. The rest of the day tomorrow, not warm, but we'll see the sun come back out. We'll call it cool, breezy, and sunny tomorrow afternoon. Let's play this all the way forward into Thursday, though, because we're going to go into that change, and moisture begins to spread into the high level. So we'll see a lot of radar echoes, I suspect, early in the day Thursday, but not much of that's going to reach the ground because we'll have some dry air in between where this moisture is, which usually starts up high and slowly moistens down or saturates downward through the atmosphere as the day goes on. So some light precipitation possible Thursday morning, but I don't expect the more moderate precipitation to pick up until the afternoon. So this is around 3 p.m. We're seeing more widespread precipitation. And then as we head past dark, we'll start to see the heavy rain begin in the coastal mountains. On top of that, gusty southerly winds will develop, and those could be upwards of 30, 40 miles per hour and could start doing some wind damage. So Thursday night into Friday, along with heavy rain in the coastal mountains, we're likely also going to be dealing with gusty winds to the point that it could knock some trees down. And anytime a tree comes down, you could have a blocked roadway, power outage, or even property damage. So some heavy precipitation overnight tonight, not much. we're going to get maybe 0.2 of an inch, but look how fast it fills in through Friday. This is just through 11 a.m. on Friday. This is as far out as the high resolution model goes out. I could show you the longer or the lower resolution model, but it's too blocky, so it doesn't really pick up our terrain all that well. So you don't see really any difference between the coastal mountains and the valleys, which typically have a big difference. But I mean, significant rainfall. A couple inches for coastal cities, and we're talking 4 to 8 inches on our coastal mountains probably by the end of the day on Friday. Enough to be concerned flooding-wise. Of course, we'll be keeping a close eye on it all weekend, and we'll be live as this event unfolds. Quick look at your temperature forecast. We're going to go through this pretty fast. Overnight tonight into tomorrow. Dropping into the 30s, highs back in the 50s tomorrow. Again, rain tomorrow morning, and then that's it. We're going to be dry for the rest of the day. Highs in the mid-50s on the east side of the bay and into our northern valleys. Lows in the 30s to low 40s. Overnight tonight onto the peninsula, you're going to drop down into the low 40s overnight, back into the low 50s tomorrow afternoon. And then farther south, lows in the 30s for the most part overnight. Highs back in the 50s. Could get close to 60 in a couple spots, but it's still very cool for this time of year. So let's just recap the 7-day forecast. Rain in the morning tomorrow, then dry for the rest of the day. Rain develops throughout the day Thursday with increasing winds and clouds. Could be heavy at times late Thursday into Friday. That flooding risk will be highest, I think, Friday morning. Gusty winds will be the strongest overnight Thursday into Friday. Rain could linger all the way into Saturday, but it won't be as intense as it will be on Friday. We'll have a chance of rain, but warmer temperatures. Look how warm it gets with this warmer air mass moving in through the weekend. And then another system early next week could bring additional heavy rainfall. Inland areas, same story here. Again, we're going to be dealing with wind and rain Thursday into Friday, and then additional chances through the weekend. Oh, by the way, daylight saving time begins this weekend, so spring forward if your power is working.
All righty. Thank you so much for that, Dan.